Hey everyone, welcome back to the SBP Podcast Mobile Filmmaking. I'm your host, Susie Botello, and you're listening to episode 90. I hope you're all doing okay. We're pretty much enduring this pandemic that never seems to end, but I'm hopeful that we'll make it. But I really want to say something. This is a little personal to you. I want to give condolences to all the people who have family members and loved ones who have lost their lives or who are ill at this time. So I just wanted to share that with you. Our guest in this episode is a screenwriter and a producer. Now, I'll let you in on a little something from the start. You're going to love her. 2 feature films shot with smartphones and amazing stories about what can happen when things go wrong with your projects. Now, we will bring you an inspiring conversation with Caroline Spence in the UK. Now, there are many links to dive into in the notes, including trailers to her films, which I made her promise that she shot it with smartphones because I knew you weren't even going to believe it. So let's go talk with Caroline. Hey everyone, welcome back to the SBP Podcast Mobile Filmmaking. I'm Susie Botello, your host, and I'm here with a very special guest from the UK. I am speaking to Caroline Spence. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Susie. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, thanks for coming all the way to San Diego's recording.
Yeah, well, I wish I was there in person. I want to try these famous tacos.
Oh, yes, I know exactly where they are, and I
Okay.
am ready for you to come to San Diego any day you want to. 2 fish tacos or whatever for you, 2 tacos.
Cool. I will be there. I've booked my flight now.
Caroline, we've met because you have not 1, but 2 mobile films that are full feature films that you shot with different phones. And I think that you are going to inspire our listeners to make feature films. But better than that, you're going to inspire them to share some really good stories. And I think that one of the stories that I would love for you to start out with would be, who is Caroline and what brought you into this crazy world of filmmaking in the first place?
Okay, well, how long have we got? It's never simple. Yeah, well, I'm a screenwriter and producer. I haven't always been in this business. I kind of came into it in my 40s. Previously, I was, just working 20 years in tedious jobs in admin, doing secretarial stuff and staring at the clock, waiting for 5 o'clock to come around. But I've always been into writing. I've always loved writing, and I've always been a creative person, and I've always loved film and the arts and drama and acting. And an opportunity came up one time when, when we were, long story again here, but got the opportunity to go on a TV show set in the Canary Islands, where it was one of these buy your homes overseas programs. And so the realtor over in Tenerife in the Canaries didn't want to be on film, and somebody thought I should take his place, even though I know absolutely nothing about selling houses. But I thought it would be a brilliant experience. Let's go for it. Let's try something new. And thought I'd meet all these great TV people, and don't know what opportunities might come up. And we went across, and it was a very interesting experience, but for all the wrong reasons, because we weren't too impressed with the TV people in the end. And what we decided was James Smith, who's the other half of Raya Films, and my other half, he was making these little vlogs, behind-the-scenes vlogs, and this was way back in 2004, so before smartphones and the equipment we've got now. But we thought, hey, we could do this. So we had to go. We went out and started making documentaries. We bought a consumer camera and started making documentaries. Did quite well. Won some awards. Got some amazing screenings, theatrical screenings for one of our historical documentaries. And did the corporate thing, to make money. And again, doing well on the commercial side until the recession hit. And by then I'd started writing screenplays, at which point I thought, this is really what I want to do. I absolutely loved it. I felt at home writing screenplays. So it just all stemmed from there, really. Writing screenplays, trying to get finance to make a movie. We're nobodies, so nobody would give us finance, even though the screenplays were absolutely 100% well received. We got Hollywood people phoning me up saying, we love your screenplay, we got to do this, but send us what you've done in the past. And I was like, okay, fine. We sent them our documentaries, but yeah, it weren't quite up to movie making standards in Hollywood. So in the end, we started on the, luckily technology had improved, had become more available and accessible to people like us. And we started making zero or micro budget movies, and that's where I am today. And we've done pretty well, and we're aiming to move up to the next level now because we're progressing. So that's always good in this industry, to progress and to keep learning and to keep striving to be better.
Let me ask you something about screenplay writing. So you said you just started writing screenplays, but where did you acquire the knowledge of how to write? Because there are certain rules for screenplays.
Yeah, well, I got a book and I studied it like one would study, for the biggest exams. I studied it. I wrote in the margins. I underlined things. Then I went and read tons and tons of screenplays, Hollywood screenplays. Trying to think of one. Ronin. Ronin was one I studied, like really intricately. And then I'd go and watch the films, and then I studied the film, and I studied, how the plotting and the key turning points within the structure of the film, and I kind of did it that way. And then I read everything I could possibly read about it. Didn't go to film school, you see. I mean, back in our day, I don't think I sound really old, don't I? I don't think there was really that option. So it was all self-taught, and just writing, constantly writing and learning from writing and what other people say about the screenplays, and just honed it down from there, really.
Wow. So you didn't, were you using Final Draft or anything like that?
Yeah, I used Final Draft, invested in that, and continue using it now. I can't live without it, to be honest. It's great software. They keep updating it and confusing me, and I have to relearn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Final Draft, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, everything now is like an app and a subscription. So they keep updating it, and just when you think you got it down.
I know, and then you have to relearn and then wonder why things keep changing. I wish they wouldn't. I just because my little brain, I've got enough to deal with. relearn software.
I actually, one of my first jobs in this industry was because I had Final Draft because I was learning it. Was actually this guy who hired me and paid me to take his Word documents and put them all into Final Draft so he could sell the movie. And it was a feature action film. And so, yeah, and that really gave me, I was learning. I wasn't proficient in it. And so, that was then after that, I was like, okay, now I really do know it. As soon as someone pays you.
That's the best way to learn, I think.
Right?
Just being thrown, just learning on the job and making mistakes and fixing them, and and having, and to be paid to do that, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a lot, but it was a lot for me
Hey, it's
because,
some,
hey,
yeah,
somebody was actually paying me to do that. So,
yeah.
I have a question for you, which just kind of came up with what you were talking about the films that you wrote about or that you were studying. So you like crime dramas, right?
Yeah, I love most genre, but crime thrillers. Anything in the thriller genre, I kind of gravitate towards. Whether that, and all the subgenres within, be it horror or drama or crime. So conspiracy, all these subgenres within within the thriller genre. Yeah.
So that brings me a little bit into the two films that you made. You want to talk a little bit? Let's talk first about Cyberlante.
Yeah, okay. Well, Cyberlante was our third feature film. We'd shot two more feature films, Do Something Jake and Agent Kelly on a DSLR.
Yeah.
And then Cyberlante, we kind of didn't plan to shoot it on a smartphone. We had this big female-led action thriller that were we had developed and raised a little bit of finance for, and we were going to shoot this on using, I can't remember the camera it was that we were shooting on, because it wasn't our camera. It belonged to the we had a cinematographer on board, and his sidekick, and who was the camera operator, and he owned the camera gear. And so we were going to do this big, slick, female-led action thriller. That was called Cyberlante. But day two of that production, the cinematographer, who was kind of young and not really experienced in feature film, I won't go into details, but he left. He quit the project and took his sidekick with him and all the camera gear. So we were stuck.
Oh.
We had to scrap the whole film. It was awful. James, I just remember James standing. We'd hired this big, beautiful building, the Victorian converted warehouse. It had been converted into this amazing apartment. I remember standing in this apartment, gathering the cast around us. We'd travelled, some had travelled from overseas. To say the film shoot was off, and that was that. So, but we thought, we can't. Let's. I'm a great believer in turning, bad things. Something
Making the
happens for a
best.
reason. Yeah, making the best of something. Something happens for a reason. So we thought, let's try and turn this around and use this to our advantage. And I've been going on to James for quite some time about, let's have a go at, because we didn't have our own camera gear anymore, but we did have smartphones. I'm saying, hey, come on, let's have a go with the smartphone. A lot of people are doing it nowadays. So finally, when all this happened, James said, right, okay, we're going to come up with a new scenario that we can shoot with the remaining cast and the remaining locations and the remaining little bit of money we had left. And we're going to do it on a smartphone. So he started researching, the best smartphones for filmmaking. And he consulted with a mobile filmmaking guru here in the UK called Simon Horrocks, and came up with a Google Pixel Original. And within 24 hours, we had come up with a new treatment. And then about a week later, within a week, we'd gathered some cast, some new people, and as well as some original cast, and started filming Cyberlante Mark II, which is not a female-led action thriller, but a cybercrime thriller. So with a male protagonist, and and a lovely little cast. And it seemed to work. We were writing, as I was writing the screenplay as we went along.
Really?
So it was very much it was very much an experimental film in that respect, because we were experimenting with a smartphone. We were experimenting with a script that didn't exist in its entirety. We were working from a scriptment.
Wow.
And but it just seemed to work. It was a really, really interesting experience. So that's the story there.
Wow. So you had, how many actors did you have in that film?
We had two lead actors, Gavin Gordon and Dominic Tiberius Russo. What an amazing name, Italian guy. And then we had some supporting actors. Let me think. Three female actors and a couple of other guys thrown in. And the main guy, the main antagonist, played by Mark Peachy, he was amazing. He was very, very good. So yeah, it's just a handful, and these people would pop in, so like a couple of days filming at a time. But Gavin Gordon, who was and Dom, who were the main cast, they were there most days. So, and we shot for, although the film took about, shooting took about a month, the actual shooting days was about 12 days. So it was spread out a little bit.
And you had for crew, you had yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you had the director.
That's right. Yeah.
And then so was the director the camera guy too, or?
Yep. James was the director. He
Nice.
operated camera and directed. So he was also cinematographer.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had.
And he.
I was going to say you had your bases covered then.
Yeah. So he did an amazing job on the cinematography. I wore many hats. I tried to be script supervisor when I wasn't being sound technician. And then when Dom wasn't on screen, he took over as sound technician whilst I did the script supervising and everything else. A little bit of catering, production management, line producing, scheduling, I did all sorts of different things. And we had a clapper loader. He was there every day, Manu. He was brilliant. And yeah, we had a very, 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 very small crew. And at times we really stretched. We tried to bring other people in, but because it was such a last-minute production, and sometimes opportunities popped up for filming in a certain location, and we'd just run and grab those opportunities, and we didn't have time to gather, relevant people, crew-wise when we needed to. But we managed. We muddled along and got there in the end.
That's fascinating. And I mean, I saw I think a trailer for that one. I also watched I think I watched a little clip or something like that too on the website, and we'll share that with the links to that on the notes and everything with our listeners. Wow, that's really, really interesting. So basically, you may not like this, but I'd like to thank the guy that walked out on you.
So would I. He taught us a big lesson. Well, I think, as I say, I think things happen for a reason, and if something that seemingly is unfortunate happens.
Yeah.
Really, I'm a great believer in turning things around and learning from it and taking advantage of the situation. And then as a result, we had this whole new experience of working with smartphones. And the film is released now. It's on Amazon. You can see it on Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime if you've got Prime. And we've had we didn't know what kind of response we would have, because obviously we're the filmmakers. We're too close to the film. As the screenwriter, I had to make, I'd write these scenes, and then we'd have to make compromises because the actors weren't quite, what we wanted, or the locations were had changed because we had to shift around a bit because of like noise pollution and things like that, usual thing. Right. But anyway, so we didn't know what we had, but we've had some amazing reviews. Really, really pleasantly surprised with how positive people have been. I'm still waiting for somebody to pop up and say, it's a load of rubbish. But so far, everybody has said they praise the cinematography and the acting, and yes, very, very,
and
very
the sound was good.
And the sound was, of course, it was good because, yes, actually it was. No,
Yeah.
James always directs for sound. So, we always double check that everything is, that you can hear what people are saying, that the sound is clean. And because that's one thing, nobody likes. It's a mark of you know, not a great. It can make a film seem really bad when you just can't hear it properly, and so we were really, really careful with the sound.
Yeah, I think sound is hugely important. Um, but you also, yeah, you did. It seemed like the shots that I saw from the clip that I watched were pretty good, and they were well lit. And then you have some pretty awesome locations as well.
Yeah, we shot in the central England, in a town called Loughborough, and so we're in the Midlands, and yeah, we were really lucky. We seemed to hit weather really well for some reason. There was a beautiful morning where we went out into the fields and took some. That was the first day filming using this smartphone, the Google Pixel, and we got some amazing shots. Well, James got some amazing shots. Really misty cold. It was freezing, misty cold, and yeah, really nice. And of course, we got some. It's quite an old town in Loughborough, so there's some lovely architecture that we always try and make the most of in our films. So locations are important to us. They kind of are part of the character of the film. So we always pay good attention to locations.
Yeah, locations always bring up the production value of a film a lot. By the way, we should probably share with our listeners a little bit of the synopsis of the film.
Yeah, it's about. Yeah, caught me out there. A It's about a young a guy who's kind of in his 30s. He moves to a new town. He's got a shady past, and it turns out he's a master hacker. But he does it for fun, to see if he can what he can as a challenge, not for any bad things. And he moves to a new town, and he gets a menial job in a hotel that's run by this real misogynistic bully of a guy. And this guy, Matt, he starts to uncover nefarious goings on in this hotel. And he uses his hacking skills to uncover what those nefarious things are. So that's it in a nutshell.
Nice.
I hope that's enough.
Yeah. Well, and so when I watched it, I really couldn't tell that it was shot with a phone because of the quality of everything. And as founder of a film festival for only mobile phones, mobile phone films, I basically see a lot of people who were just very ready to start shooting something and forget all the little details sometimes, like sometimes sound, locations, a lot of times it's overdone on the cinematography. It doesn't really fit. There's all these things. And there are also even more so wonderful things that people do with their phones though. But what I saw in this was just like, the camera work. I mean, you did some really interesting things from what I could see on the screen with the technology because you're part of the film is about a smartphone hacking thing, right?
Not necessarily a smartphone. I mean, the guy sits on a computer, on a laptop, and he does a lot of hacking that way. But he does use smartphones as part of his trade, let's say. So yeah, that's right. But no, it's an interesting. It's always interesting to get other people's take on the films. I think James likes to bring traditional filmmaking techniques to everything we do.
Yeah.
So he's as I say, he's cinematographer, and he's studied all the great masters of cinematography, and like me, he studies big Hollywood productions, see what they're doing, how they do it, and you have to ask James more about this. He's he's the guru on this side of things. But yeah, we like to bring traditional filmmaking techniques to everything we do, whether it's on a DSLR, a big fancy Panasonic, or a smartphone.
Yeah. Well, I think it helps the flow of the story for the viewers, so that they can actually follow this story along instead of trying to figure out what is this about, especially when you get very abstract in the way that you're shooting. Yeah, it's really awesome. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the next film that you did, Surveilled.
Surveilled, yes. Yes, now this one was shot on a different phone. It was shot on a Samsung S9 Plus with a moment anamorphic lens. I mean, both films we shot using Filmic Pro app.
Yeah.
So yeah, Surveilled is very different, very, very different film. It's in the horror genre, but it's more of a mystery horror. So more creep out as opposed to gross out. And that again we shot in the Midlands of the UK. But this was a bigger production in that we had actors fly in from all over the world. I mean, we had a tiny, we did a bit of crowdfunding for that budget, which wasn't much, but it was enough to, to get moving on the production. We had actors fly in from Australia, New York, the Netherlands, Austria, all over the place. I'm sure I've missed a country, but I know. And so, we were absolutely honoured that these guys would fly themselves out. We didn't ask them to. They said, we want to be in the film. Can we come play? And so they flew themselves out, and it was we had a really cool cast. It was really excellent, and so it was a real international feel, very international production in a way. There's no great dramatic story behind the making of that film, other than we started to film on the first couple of days using the Google Pixel. But I don't know what had happened in the interim with that camera, but something had happened where everything was really grainy. There was a lot of noise on the screen. In the shadows, you could see this pixelation going on. And we had a kind of 24 hours of drama, thinking, oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? And is something wrong here? Yeah. It must have been a software update or something. I just don't know. So in the end, we had to buy a new phone. So hence we moved to the Samsung, and that's the drama. Aside of that, this film shoot went very well, went very smoothly. I think we shot over 3 weeks, and again found some awesome locations, and it's just the film has just, we're still in post-production with it, but it's just been accepted into a Horror on Sea film festival, which is the biggest and best, apparently, film festival in the horror genre in the UK. So we're absolutely thrilled about that.
Wow.
So good start for Surveilled.
So when you started shooting this film, I mean, the other one was kind of experimental, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though it turned out great. But this one, you planned it. So when you were doing, the pre-production, part where you're grabbing people to make this film, did you explain to them that you were going to use a smartphone, or how did that work out?
You know what? I can't remember. I think to some people we probably explained. I think we would have explained, definitely, so that, yes, I remember certain actors and me sending emails saying, look, this is what we're doing, but then citing Steven Soderbergh and Sean Baker and saying, hey, these guys do it, so we, don't be alarmed. It's okay. It's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we warned everybody, and nobody seemed to bat an eyelid about it. They accepted it as if we were, had a big ARRI or something like that. So, yeah, kudos to them for being so cool.
And usually, like for the actors, you first give them the screenplay and to read to see if they'll accept it, or how did that work before they found out that you were shooting on a phone? I've done many spoken to many different directors and people filmmakers, and they each have a little bit of a different story. But most of them, when I'm talking to actors, they say that it's the story that sold them, not the camera.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, we sent the screenplay out. The screenplay, I think, to act is I don't know. Can't speak for actors, but I assume the screenplay and the story and the characters is more important than what we're shooting on. They just want to work and they just want to do what they do. And so I think I tend to find filmmakers can be a bit more sniffy about what the camera is. They'll say, "Oh, what are you shooting on?" It's like, well, it doesn't really matter, which is the actors don't tend to ask that question. They just want to be in front of a camera, whatever camera it's going to be, and do what they've been trained to do. So we didn't have any resistance there. And luckily they liked the screenplay. So we had some good people come along. We had an excellent cast on this one.
Yeah, and they may have appreciated the fact that it wasn't a big camera on their face, and so obtrusive sometimes as the big camera with could be, even though you worked with DSLRs, which are not that much bigger.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think that's what we found. I think James would, he could get up. Sounds a bit weird, but he could get up really close with the phone, really close to the actors, and without it, as you say, being really obtrusive in their face and really uncomfortable. And so I think they seem to accept that really well. So that's one big advantage of shooting on a smartphone, is you can get up close and personal. You can get into tight spaces, which you wouldn't be able to do even with something like a DSLR. You can get into really tight spaces with these phones. So yeah, there's some big advantages in shooting in this way.
Yeah, and I think most of us are used to having smartphones on our faces.
Yeah.
Smartphones is it's a new way of saying smartphones.
Yes, smartphones.
It's like smartphones is and noses.
Yeah, smartphones is smartphone size. Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, just to let our listeners know, are you by the ocean right now?
I'm on the south coast of England.
Yeah,
So,
because
yeah, it's a sea. The English Channel is just across. It's about a mile away.
yeah. Just for visualization sake.
Yeah, and it's what is it? Coming up 7 a.m. and it's still pitch black outside. So that's
Nice.
cool.
Well, yeah, you get a head start. I like doing that. I like getting up super early before the sun gets up or goes
Yes.
up or shows up. And I feel like I'm, got one on everybody, because I'm up and they're not. And so I get to watch the sunrise and the sunset, feel privileged in some way.
Absolutely.
And speaking of that, the sunrise. No, I'm just being goofy now.
Let's segue.
Yeah. I wanted to speak about it's a little famous for the sun, actually, about something I read about being locked down in Spain, sort of caught off guard on a boat.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an experience, I can tell you. Yeah, we've got this old sailing yacht in Spain, in Andalusia, and we go there quite often to just hide and work in peace and quiet, and of course to get some amazing culture and amazing food in Spain. And
Good
so we
tapas.
good. Oh, don't get me going. Tapa, cervecita, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I really miss it, to be honest. But yeah, so we went out quite for sometimes we can go out for a month or so, and but this time we went out for a very short time. We popped out for 2 weeks in March, and 5 months later we were still there. They announced this lockdown in Spain, and people just didn't have time to get out before all the airlines closed and grounded their fleets. And we were literally stranded. And I can't remember now, but I think during that time, I think we had over nine cancelled flights because we kept rebooking our flights, because they give us that option. But it just wasn't going to happen, not until the lockdown ended. I can't remember, July, I think. Yes, before the fleet started, the airline started up again. It was July. So from March till July, we were in Spain and locked down on this little sailing yacht, which it sounds glamorous, but it's although comfortable for us, it's not one of these shiny big, gin palaces. It's a nice little base for us, but it was a tight squeeze, especially because in Spain during the lockdown you were not allowed out to exercise. You could only go shopping to the supermarket or to the pharmacy or to the laundrette. Thank God the laundrettes were open.
Wow.
Oh, it was a savior. But yes, so for quite a long time we were literally unable to poke our noses outside without the fear of getting pulled up by the Guardia. So it was an experience, I can tell you.
Yeah, and the Guardia Civil can be very strict.
Oh, they were. I mean, obviously they're all armed, which in the UK the police don't really have any. No, it's a different ball game. During this
they're
current,
like military almost.
Yeah, I mean, during this current lockdown in the UK, I haven't seen a single policeman. But in Spain, the Guardia and the Policia were patrolling constantly, and you do not mess with these people. I mean, I got pulled up a couple of times on the way to the supermarket, saying, where are you going? I waved my supermarket bag, and it's just, they were perfectly polite and civil about it. They're not scary ogres, but you still don't give them any lip. You don't argue with them. And then they closed the toilet blocks, the shower blocks. So it was like, luckily the weather was super hot, so got the hose out in the cockpit, so that we were able to cope that way. And and there was a day in May when they eased the lockdown and you could go out for an hour's exercise. That was a beautiful day, I can tell you. We were finally able to get out and go walking, just a simple walk. We weren't allowed to do that, and just to be able to go for a simple walk was utter bliss. And they opened the cafes. Oh, we could go and have coffee.
Well, but their coffee is amazing.
Absolutely.
I know that people talk, but I lived in Italy and I've, lived in Spain, but I still love the coffee in Spain. There's nothing that beats that.
No, absolutely. Can't beat that. It's the best.
It's like you go out for a cup of coffee and it just makes your day 3 times a day at least, right?
Yeah, it's a big event, that and breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely gorgeous. I'm getting very hungry now.
I know, right? And it's dark here too.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Did you happen to capture any of that with foot? I mean, I imagine that hopefully you had at least your laptop and your phones and,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were busy. We weren't really, work-wise, we were not affected at all because, in fact, here I go again saying something good out of something bad. It gave us time to really concentrate on finishing our the post-production on our films. So we had all these, a big laptop that James edits on, and we had our smaller laptops and our phones. So we were technoed up to the hill. Internet was good out there. So we were fine in that respect. We were still post-producing Cyberlante at the time, so we were able to crack on with that, get that finished. Yeah. And then we were finishing the editing on Surveilled, and we were okay work-wise. We were not pootling around bored, let's put it that way. Yeah. We had a lot to do, and this lockdown gave us a lot of time to do it. So that was a blessing for us.
So you edited the film on the boat during lockdown,
Mm.
basically.
We edited Surveilled on the boat, yeah, and Cyberlante had been edited. We were just finishing it off with our sound design guys who were based over in Portugal, and we were so we were finishing off Cyberlante and physically edited Surveilled on the boat. So that was
Wow.
good fun.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty good yeah, you do make the best of everything that way. Let me ask you just a couple more little questions here.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, you had, Raya Films,
Hmm.
and I know you've done a little bit of acting. Did you want to talk about that?
Um, well, I'm not a trained actor. I call myself an occasional actor if, no one else will do it. um, I've done a bit of, I was absolutely obsessed with acting at school. I was in every play I could be in. I was in every musical. I did a lot of, I joined every drama class. I took some exams, but that's the extent of it. But while we were our debut movie took 3 years to finish because we had no money for it. So it was like, we had a few setbacks with that. Let's do something, Jake. And so whilst we were finishing that film, we thought, we really need to get out and do something else. So James came up with this idea. I remember sitting in an airport hotel and him pitching the idea to me over a beer, which is always the best way to pitch film ideas. And he said, "Why not? We still had the DSLR. Let's film this kind of this story about this female assassin where when we film it doing the route we normally take from London through Spain to our boat in Andalusia, and and you can play this assassin." So I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. So we shot this film starting off at Gatwick Airport in the UK, and then
I've
flying
been
out to
there.
yeah, pretty cool. So we did some discreet filming there. Got some lovely shots, and I dolled myself up as this badass assassin as best I could. And then we shot, and then we flew to Malaga and did some filming there. I remember us shooting in this hotel at Gatwick, and we were filming some sort of the opening scene, and it took us till 1 a.m. and we had to get up and get our flight at 4 a.m. So
Wow.
by the time we got to Malaga, we had no hotel. We hadn't been able to book a hotel. I can't remember why. I think our usual hotels were all booked up, so we hadn't even got anywhere to stay. Again, something good out of something bad. We came across this hotel we would never have chosen in the first place. We called it a hotel in the sky because, big, tall building, and then we were able to get this room at the top. It was in almost like a suite, this big balcony overlooking the most amazing views of Malaga City. And we shot some brilliant scenes there. And then we took a bus from Malaga to Almeria province, where our boat is, and continued shooting there. So yeah, I played this assassin, and I think I was cheap. I was willing to run through a mosquito-infested nature reserve. And James insisted on high-heeled boots, which was not easy, and then be thrown around in the surf by this crazy Spaniard and do all these stunts. And I absolutely loved it. It was brilliant.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. But that wasn't the only one that you've uh, been an actor in, right?
It is. I had a fleeting oh my God, scene stealing appearance in Do Something Jake as woman in pink jacket. That's about it.
That's
Yeah, I think I
interesting.
was brilliant in that bit. Yeah.
um,
Watch the film, you'll blink and you might miss me, but I'm there.
all right, you're not gonna believe what my last question is.
Uh-oh.
My last, well, no, I mean, let me ask you this: your work right now, right? You're almost finished with Surveilled. I mean, you already edited the film, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's his final sound design now.
Yeah. And so you're going to continue to make more, right, with your
Of
phones?
course. Yeah. Well, we've got our next film is called Casting Kill, and that is another in the horror genre.
Yeah.
Again, creep out rather than gross out. But this is going up a level. This is in terms of production design, storytelling, just trying to raise our game as filmmakers. And so that's set in the world of acting and auditions. It's about a fraudster who is posing as a Hollywood casting director, and he holds auditions. He preys on actors desperate to win their big break. So that we're planning to film hopefully February, March next year. We're currently crowdfunding for it. So if anybody wants to pledge and help make this movie happen, please go on to Indiegogo and key in Casting Kill. You'll find us there. And we're very, very excited about this next one because, as I say, we're raising our game, we're going up a level, and yeah, we have high hopes for it. It's going to be pretty slick. So that's my plug over for Casting Kill.
Yeah, well, we're going to definitely throw another link on there. We're going to put a lot of links on this one.
There's a lot to go, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyone who's been listening to our podcast will know that most of the time, the people, especially in the feature films, they've made one feature film, and I'm getting them at the first one that they've made. But I'm excited here because you're making more than one. You're now on number 3.
We're now on number 5.
Number 5.
This
Well, of
Casting Killer will be our 5th feature film.
yeah. Well, let me rephrase that. Shot with the
Yeah.
phone. Shot with the phone.
Oh right. So
Yeah.
So I have to tell you, unfortunately, Casting Kill is not going to be shot on a phone.
Oh, it's not.
So it's not. No. I'm not going to say. I'm not saying we won't shoot another film on a phone. But
Yeah. But
no.
do you plan on shooting a film, another one, on a phone?
On a phone, I'm never going to say never, because it's been such an experience shooting in this format.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. Just not this next project, because
Yeah.
we're looking for a different kind of look and feel to this one. But yeah, yeah. I mean, as I say, the experience has been so positive, and I would definitely recommend people just, if you haven't got a camera, big fancy camera, don't necessarily need one. You've got your smartphone, go out and try that.
Yeah.
It's growing. The technology is growing all the time, and yeah, there's so much you can do with them. So definitely go do it. But yeah, you're right. It's so 2 feature films on the smartphone, and there will be a third, but just not quite yet.
That's after some tapas and cerveza.
Yeah. Once we've come to visit,
Campo.
oh, don't. That's too early for me for Cruz Campo, but I'll go for the coffee and tostada. We'll come out to San Diego, have some tacos
some
and
tacos. Well, San Diego is a lot like Spain, weather-wise
Yeah.
and everything. I mean, it's just it's one of the reasons that I think San Diego. There's Sevilla in Spain, also along the coast, anywhere
Yeah.
really. Although the funny thing about Spain is that as you're going along the coast from the south all the way, to Almeria where you were, the sand changes colors and texture.
Yeah,
on
well,
the
Almeria
beaches.
is, we're on the edge of a desert. It's Europe's only true desert, Almeria, and boy, it feels like it as well. So,
Yeah.
it's pretty intense. It's so different compared to the west of Andalusia.
Yeah.
As you move towards Malaga and Sevilla and Cadiz, it's very, very different. So almost a different language as well. The accent in Almeria is almost incomprehensible.
Would you say that your experience shooting there, as far as needing permits or anything like that, with a mobile phone or without, are different than in the UK?
Not really, because because in Spain it was just me and James running around with a little camera.
Yeah.
So we didn't need permits, because I think it's the same rules in the UK. I think you can have a crew of you can't have more than 5 people. I think including the actors, out on the street and without a permit. So beyond that, you need a permit. And but we always let people know where we are and what we're doing if we're in urban areas in the UK. And in Spain, we were just traveling all the time, and we didn't know where we were going to film, so we kind of just discreetly rolled cameras.
Right.
Got
Guerrilla
away with
style.
it. Oh, very much guerrilla style, very run and gun. Didn't know what you were going to get from one day to the next, or from one shot to the next. So very much El Mariachi style, Robert Rodriguez. So yeah, we were in that camp for Agent Kelly, 100%.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of great locations there where you can
Oh,
shoot as well.
amazing.
So, what would you say to our listeners if they're sort of hesitant about filming with the phone? What would be the basics that you would say? Like I was saying earlier, sound and things like that, but also start with a story, obviously. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. A lot of people start looking at the phone and then they get lost on the
Mm,
gear and things like that, and kind of then go, okay, let's just film something.
mm.
But what would your advice be?
Um, my would be to definitely don't be afraid of it. As you say, we're so used to using our phones nowadays. It should be a next, a next easy step. I'm saying easy in inverted commas. But don't be afraid of it. Go, and there's just so much information out there. YouTube videos, Facebook groups, lots of other filmmakers who are willing to share their expertise, their advice, their stories. So don't be afraid. Go and try and get your head around the technical side of it. Get yourself Filmic Pro, and then go out and experiment. Just experiment and learn from just actually doing it. I think that's the best way to learn, because you might come up against an obstacle or a problem technologically wise. But you can then go away and find out how to fix that problem, how to get around it. So definitely just have a go, and just become a geek, and become a student. Go and learn and read and watch videos and talk to people. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
That's pretty good. And use your smartphones, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just get the phone out and get filming stuff. And yeah, in terms of audio, audio is very, very important. So get yourself a good microphone. Invest in a good microphone, and always film with sound in mind. Get nice, close, clean sound.
Definitely. What would be what are some of the most notable films that you've ever watched?
That have been shot on a smartphone.
Any film whatsoever
Any
that really inspired you to, you know, to say I'll give this whole movie making thing a go.
Yeah. Oh, well, certainly in the early days. I mean, I grew up watching all sorts of films from all sorts of eras and countries and genres, but I'll cite some of my favourite films. Jaws is one of my favourite films, because of the characters, the character study. The characters so well mapped out. Another of my favourite films, which I think, again, screenplay is just amazing, and the production and acting and casting is amazing. It's LA Confidential. Absolutely love that film. I can just keep watching it forever and learning from it. Learn so much from just every aspect of that movie. But there are so many movies out there. I've been watching a lot of independent films recently, as well as Hollywood movies, and just I'm drawn to films that have great characters that are not perfect, You know, they're not one-dimensional. They're real. You know, they got flaws and they got faults, but ultimately you want to be rooting for them. So yeah, so many movies out there.
And if you had a chance, and someone said in your next film, shot with a phone, I'm going to stick with
Of
this.
course.
And someone said to you, you can pick 3 actors who will work well together, and ask them to make this next feature film that you're going to make with your phone. Who would they be?
Oh lordy, that's a tough one. So many great actors that I love out there. I'm going to go with people who I know are nice. Well, I think are nice people in real life. You know, I feel Sandra Bullock. I think she'd be great fun to work with. Russell Crowe, I think, is a brilliant actor. He's such a nice, seems to be a nice down-to-earth bloke. Who else? 3, you said?
Yep.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh.
He's great. He's a brilliant character actor.
Wow, that's a great combination, actually.
Yeah, I'll think of many more when I hang up here, but
Yeah.
off the top of my head.
And it would be a crime thriller?
Of course, yes. No, it would be in the thriller genre.
Nice.
And whichever subgenre within that, we'd have to decide on the project. So if those guys are available, you know, hit me up. Let's talk.
Isn't it great though when you select characters like that all of a sudden the story could come from just thinking about what story could come out of them being together in a film.
Yeah, could be interesting.
Yeah,
could be interesting.
I may have just given you some material for your next screenwriting project.
The little brain is churning now, having to think about it.
Mine's always churning.
Yeah, it never stops. Such is the life of a filmmaker.
Right. Well, we're reaching an hour here, and I got to tell you, I've really enjoyed talking with you. If I give you another chance, would you do it again and come back?
100%. Of course. No, it's been great fun. It's been lovely talking to you. So, yeah, just please invite me back again. I shall be here.
Well, then this is what I'll ask you to do. You may not even have to write it down. Make another movie with a smartphone.
Okay, this is the rules. Okay, I'll tell James. We'll get shooting.
And no more lockdowns.
No more yeah. We've still got one in the UK. Oh Lord.
Not unless it causes you to make something extravagant and awesome. So yeah. No, I really enjoyed this. I think our listeners are going to enjoy this conversation a lot. And and we will definitely, guys, you've got to see these films. I know that Surveilled is not out yet, but you can go and watch Cyberlante in the, I was going to say in the theaters, in the theater at home.
In your home theater. Yeah.
Yes, in your Amazon theater.
Yeah.
And then give Caroline a follow. We'll share your social media. But why don't you, for people who don't feel like reading, at least give them your social media, your Twitter and Instagram, at least.
Okay. My Twitter is Spence Producer, and Instagram. I'm not in charge of Instagram. James is. I think it's at Raya Films.
Oh, that's right.
I think it's at Raya Films London. Can't remember.
Let me see. Hold on. I've got it right here. No, I don't.
No. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. Well, it's probably the same. Is it the same as Facebook?
Might be.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not in charge of that one.
Right.
I just blindly click on it without paying attention.
Well, and maybe we'll just have to invite James into the podcast at some point here.
You should do, because he's got a lot of technical information that he could impart to your listeners, and other stories as well that I may not have thought of. So yeah, definitely invite James.
Definitely. All right, James, are you listening?
He will be.
Get in touch. Listen, I'd love for you to say one last little hurrah for our listeners out there. I think once they watch their film, they're going to be really impressed with the quality of your film, and when they watch the next one too. And again, I can't tell that you shot it with a phone, but I'll take your word for it.
We did, honestly.
All right.
Well, we got photos to prove it.
Yes, I know. We're going to be sharing those too. Say goodbye to everybody.
Okay, goodbye to everybody. Goodbye, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this. Do hit me up on social media if you want to chat. I'm here. Happy to talk.